welcome to episode number 46 of the Nintendo Jump Podcast. We, of course, are a weekly discussion podcast created for Nintendo gamers by Nintendo gamers. It is the week of May 6th. My name is Daryl, and today I'm once again joined by my ever-reliable co-host, Sergio. How are you doing, man?
Hey Daryl, I'm doing all right. You know what helps is that E3 is basically a month away.
I know. That's crazy, isn't it? This year has flown by.
So, there's so many expectations and rumors and just hype. Hype is the word, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, that becomes even crazier when we think about like one of our first episodes was responding to E3. So, getting there, guys. And I mean, as almost always, I'm also joined by Kevin, who is I mean this guy I don't understand how he does it. He has formed yet another podcast. It's crazy. So check him out on the Uncharted BFFs podcast. That's at Uncharted BFFs on Twitter. Obviously that's not a Nintendo brand, but it's awesome. You guys should check it out. Kevin, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well, and you know what? Thanks for a shout out to my new podcast. You know what I mean?
What's the name of your podcast one more time?
It's called Uncharted BFFs. You know, we just talk about everything Uncharted, our experiences with Uncharted, what we think about the series, what we can do if we were the developers, you know, and
That's awesome.
I think it's impressive that you're already at 5 episodes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's not even 5 iterations of Uncharted yet, and like it's already at the fifth episode.
Infinite stories, man. Infinite stories.
Yeah, well, granted that there are spin-offs, but there is no Uncharted 5 yet. I don't know if there is one, but if you hear me, Sony, if you hear me, Naughty Dog, you know.
You almost said Nintendo. Yeah,
I almost said Nintendo.
That's not gonna happen, man.
You know, I mean, look, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just feel like this series, and I talked about it in the Discord, like, I think it more than deserves, a chance to shine on the Switch. So.
Never ever gonna happen.
Yeah, I know, but
ever. Oh man, we are
dream.
Already so far off the rails. I'm so sorry. No, obviously we are back for yet another weekly episode, and we're having fun. This week we have a topic that I'm actually really happy about. It was proposed by one of our Discord's friend of the show, Shell Shock. I don't know that he really realized that he proposed an idea for an entire episode, but he did. So, yeah, without further ado, Kevin, what are we talking about this week?
Well, first of all, shout out to Shell Shock Prime with the question. With that being said, his question that we're about to get into is, I got a question for the next time you guys answer listener mail. How would you guys evolve the Mega Man series in this day and age?
Yeah, we're going to spend an entire episode talking about how we would evolve the Mega Man series. So, man, strap in. This is going to be a great one.
Oh, man, I'm ready. I'm
no,
ready. Well,
I'm kidding.
No, but for real, though, we're going to be doing a round robin of game series, one from each of us, or not one. Well, we'll see how it goes.
A few from each of us.
Okay, let's just say a few, yeah. And then just... there we go. We're just gonna go off not go off the rails, but just go into this question, and we're gonna start with Sergio.
So yeah, how this is gonna work? We're gonna say a game series, and then we're gonna basically talk about what we would do to evolve the series from where it currently is. So
right,
there's a lot of potential topics here, and I'm gonna welcome some talk back on this episode for sure. Check out our Discord definitely, and let us know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And I'm going to start with a favorite of all three of us. And some of our listeners, not as many listeners as we hope. We want more people to play this series. And that's why we kind of wanted to come back. I'm talking about Golden Sun.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay.
There we go.
All right, let's go.
So... even if we count Golden Sun 3, I guess we kind of have to because it's official.
The still good but incredibly forgettable iteration. Yes, yes.
Man,
yeah. So even with that, yeah, there's potential, to do something with the series. It's interesting because it will be evolving it, but also bringing it back from, oh man, I don't know how long it's been, over 10 years, I want to say.
Death, literal death.
So I do have some ideas, and since it's coming back from a long time, there's some drastic changes that I'm gonna be proposing. First of all, I think it has to go with a completely new cast of characters. In fact, I was thinking that it would be a prequel to the entire thing. It would still be set in the same world of Weird, but it would be way in the past. I'm thinking in the discovery of I don't know if I say synergy. I've heard some people say synergy also. What do you guys say?
I think
man,
I think it's Helion.
Oh.
I think it's Hylian. Yeah. Well, I think it's for me it's synergy. I've never heard of it said synergy.
Yeah, I always said synergy, but it's spelled weird, so just take it whatever. I don't care on that one. It's not nearly as important as Helion, so there you go.
Yeah.
Nice. So it would, yeah. My idea is that the game would take place in the discovery of synergy. The magical element of Golden Sun, and it would still have the same four elements. It would be fire, earth, water, and wind, and I would also keep the 2D sort of top view for when you're exploring levels. I think that works really well for the series. It's very unique, especially for an RPG. So I wouldn't change that. What I would change, though, it's the battle system. I'm thinking we're going to go real time on this one. So the characters are going to move on their own. They're going to be blocking or dodging enemy attacks. But you're going to be in control when it's time to attack. So, for example, after a few seconds after a battle starts, you see that the Earth guy, I don't know, let's call him Affleck. Sounds like I said.
Affleck?
Sure, let's call him Affleck, okay?
So
sounds like a duck.
This podcast sponsored by Affleck.
Yeah.
No, we're not at all.
Yeah. No.
So when you notice that Affleck is ready, when he's ready to attack, you can do a physical attack, you can do an earth elemental attack, or you can decide to wait. And basically the reason for waiting is that if you see, for example, that the fire guy, let's call him Barrett, if he's also ready to attack, you can put one of them on hold. They stay where they are. They're vulnerable. But you wait for someone else to be ready to attack. You get close to the other person. And once you're both close to each other and you're ready to unleash an elemental attack, that's when you combine it. So it will be earth and fire. So, it gets tricky because you have to decide when it's a good time to leave someone open to potential attacks. But it's for a good reason. You want to unleash a stronger attack with different elements or a combination of elements that could cause different effects on the battle. So that's what I would propose.
Man, so you said keep it in 2D, which is kind of interesting for a real time. That I like that idea. What you're giving me really strong flashbacks of is actually Crystal Chronicles, which kind of has that in a co-op type gameplay, so each person can cast a different kind of magic and then combine the magics to make different spells. So, and you have to work together with timing and such to actually make that happen. Golden Sun also has a history of doing that. Like if you equipped Fire Jin to Isaac, you could then get access to a spell called Volcano. So I mean,
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there, so I actually really like that idea. I would be really interested to see what the water user of the game, let's call him Geico, could do. That would be pretty awesome. But
man.
Or maybe the wind user, Progressive, maybe he could use Hurricane or something. That'd be pretty neat. But
Progressive.
Hey, you started this, man. I don't know where Barrett came from. Anyways, I could see. So that Pokemon open world game that everybody's been kind of like really waiting for a very long time. Open world, expansive, Pokemon everywhere and things like that. I actually think that they could do that with Golden Sun. I really do. In terms of, if you remember how the levels are laid out, how you actually find the gin and things, like that would actually be really cool. You could do it in a full 3D depending on how much time you had. Now that said, the development company Camelot, they have not done an RPG or Golden Sun game in a very long time. So I don't know. I don't know what their staffing levels are. I don't know if they have the same people or anything like that. But man, if anybody ever looked at Golden Sun and actually gave it a lot of effort, man, that series could be awesome. The only other thing I'll say is I remember that game being fairly linear in terms of exploration, like a lot of almost kind of side-scrolly type areas. And what that reminds me of is actually Octopath Traveler, which also has a lot of more linear exploration type gameplay with the way it's laid out and such. So I my mind kind of drifts to an Octopath Traveler / Golden Sun game, and I'm like, oh, I get a little weak for that one. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, and having a game being linear is not necessarily a bad thing. I think there were some unfair criticisms throughout the years with certain games like Final Fantasy 13 when they complained about how linear it was and how and towards the very end where it is a bit more open world. But I echo the same sentiments. I think it's an awesome idea. I think it's interesting that if you're put in a vulnerable state, like, do you take double damage? So you're taking a huge risk in the battle, right? So it's a bit more strategic. And I'm going to go for as a step further. I mean, are you going to include more elements rather than, earth, air, wind, and water? Because, I mean,
I would vote for heart. Heart is a good element. And then we could just start singing Captain Planet to ourselves, which would be pretty cool, too.
I mean, there we go. But... yeah, because I feel like, with the 4 main elements, it does get very cliche, and I think that, if you add some more elements, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think.
Like heart.
Like heart? Well, yeah, that's a good one.
Wood is more like earth, but you could do light and dark pretty easily.
That's true, yeah. You could do light and dark. I don't know why I'm thinking Mega Man. When I thought about Wood, I thought about Mega Man, like Woodman. But, let me think. And so with the battle sequence, like how it would be like an active time battle system? Like would it be like, would you know who's gonna go first or second? Like how would you mold that?
The way I was thinking is it depends on who has the most agility, and depending on how you level them up or what equipment you give them. And there you brought up a good point that it could work as a 2D game, but I was actually thinking I actually should have specified. I think the battle system, if it's gonna be real time, it could be like an open world kind of thing. I thought of Xenoblade Chronicles actually.
Oh,
okay. So you guys absolutely need to get and buy Crystal Chronicles when it comes out, because it's kind of what you're explaining.
Ooh.
Kind of.
Man.
It's very, very good. I cannot wait. I'm sorry I bring it up a lot, but it's very much similar to what you're kind of explaining there. Okay, so Golden Sun, awesome pick. Mm-hmm. Kevin, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I gotta go with the series that has given me a lot of joy and a lot of pain at the same time. Pokemon, y'all remember the time when I went on a rampage with the way I felt about it. But yeah, I think that there are certain things that I would like to have improved and evolved in this series. One of them being
no pun intended.
No. Put down the hashtag. No, but you know what? They follow the same formula of going through the gyms. Oh, besides Alola, but just going through the gyms and collecting the badges and becoming a champion. But I was thinking maybe more of a story where, like, more of a heartfelt story. I mean, I'm gonna borrow a little bit from Pokemon Uranium. I don't know if you heard of it, but it is a fan-made game about this. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's in this area of like where there's a lot of like these nuclear power plant sort of things, and the main character like has a mom that works in the lab, and then some chaos happens, and then she goes back into the basement to try to fix it, and then it explodes, and just you don't know what happened to the mom, and then you have to go figure out like how to you gotta find you want to know what happened to your mom, the lab scientist. And I didn't finish it. I just played like probably a couple hours, but you just go through each town bit by bit, try to figure out more clues to that, and I feel like maybe Pokemon should have, or the series should have more of that kind of story. I am a little disappointed that it got shut down after a while, but I mean, with great understanding, obviously, because it is Pokemon is a copyrighted franchise, and but the passion's there. So I would want to have more of a different story, a different spin-off, not just collecting badges. Because I think that gets old. I mean, I think it's great to have that sort of thing where you are trying to become a Pokemon master and you're trying to collect gyms, or not gyms. You're trying to collect badges and try to become the very best that never was. But if you have a different story, a different spin-off, I think that it would be more enticing to people who maybe never played the Pokemon series. I still want to have new Pokemon and bring back the old, like our favorite Pikachu and Team Eevee, obviously. Team Eevee. Gotta go with Eevee. And
Eevee forever.
Yep, there we go. That's what's up. But I think a different story intake would be great. And with the battle system, I kind of want to have it so that it's like real time, where not so much like Pokken Tournament. I mean, obviously that is a very reputable franchise in itself. But I think or series, but what I'm trying to get at is like maybe have a real-time battle system where you can actually dodge attacks, and you have your 4 base moves, and then you have your Pokemon trainer pretty much like give a command, and then once you give a command, then the Pokemon will react and will try to dodge, or you're given, like, say you have a Pikachu, right, and then Pokemon trainer's like, oh hey Pikachu, use Thundershock. It won't use it yet, but it will go into a sequence where you have 30 seconds to use Thundershock, or maybe 15 seconds, and then it's kind of like chess, where you're trying to figure out like where the other Pokemon's gonna attack, and then depending on, you can strike first or he can strike first, but you have to use your attack within 15 seconds, and if you don't, then it's just a miss. So you have to use your attack, and then there's ways where you can dodge maybe like a tackle, and then once you dodge maybe say the opponent Pokemon's tackle, then Pikachu can maybe find an opening where he could use Thundershock. So I think maybe something like that would be a bit more strategic. I don't know if that's ever been implemented before, but I think so basically like 15-second rounds of like doing certain attacks, and then maybe the battle might take a bit longer than the original formula, but I think that'd be more exciting. And maybe it doesn't have to be like all 6 Pokemon all at once, or during the battle sequence, but maybe you can have like max 3 Pokemon per team, and then just duke it out. So like I said, each trainer will have a command that the Pokemon is going to do, and then you have 15 seconds in that sequence to execute it. If you don't execute in 15 seconds, that round is over. You don't do your attack. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I like it, especially because you're saying very story heavy, story being a focus of the series. I want to say like for once or finally, and I think Nintendo could go with that so well. It could say, okay, so there's this franchise that a lot of people don't consider an RPG. Well, here's what we think of that, and then they show this crazy, super story-driven Pokemon game. Oh, that actually sounds really awesome to me. Also, the battle system sounds more engaging because you can defend better, you can dodge and react. It just sounds more engaging, like you said. Now, not to derail your idea, but I think something that could work and that would add to the story portion of it. What about permadeath?
Yeah, I mean, so I thought about that too, but you have to think like Nintendo and the Pokemon, like just Nintendo and Pokemon Company, like just the way they want to portray what fainting is or what death is.
There would be so many tears.
Yeah,
there'd be so many tears. That'd be worse than Fire Emblem. Are you serious?
It would be. I mean, these are like
you got an adorable Oddish. Oh, Oddish died. Sorry. What?
No.
Oh no.
Yeah, I that's a good try, Serge. I thought about it for a slight second, but I don't think it's gonna fly with this concept. Although I personally wouldn't mind, because that it puts a bit more drama into the game. I think the rating for this game might go from PG to M. So, I'm not sure how a lot of people feel about that because, as we mentioned in the previous episode or a previous episode about Pokemon, as Daryl mentioned it, Pokemon is geared towards a certain audience, like a certain young audience, and your Pokemon company is always trying to bring new generation over and like just after another, and trying to get into the series and be able to cultivate this love for these monsters, these pocket monsters or Pokemon, and be able to live on the spirit of having a companion with you. So, permadeath, man. I mean, that is a very bold idea, but ooh.
I think honestly, a Pokemon move that I would love to see would be a battle system change to a more active battle system, kind of like you're thinking. So in Pokemon Tournament, there's two phases. There's a field phase and I think a duel phase or something like that. Think of the field phase where you have full 3D movement around each other. And so envision it is still kind of a pseudo turn-based type thing, but it's all active time. So you have kind of the active time bar from Final Fantasy games in there. And when that goes down, you can hit one of your 4 face buttons, A, B, X, Y, to attack, do one of your 4 attacks, and when that happens, then it resets the bar and it starts over. The opponent has a bar too, but in the meantime, you can freely move around the arena, and it's in a 3D environment. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
that would be awesome, and
dude,
I would play it. I would absolutely play that.
You hear that, Nintendo? Sign us up as game developers. We'll help you out.
Yeah, it would still kind of be just a pseudo action RPG, kind of the same type, but you could be like trying to actively avoid attacks and stuff.
Yes, yes.
That'd be neat. I'd like that.
Yeah, it would, because it fits more into what a battle system can be, like, in just more engaging, more progressive. It's not, you're not just sitting around doing nothing. You're constantly thinking about the next move, whether you're going to dodge an attack or execute one. Like, it takes a lot more thought and more care to how you battle. So I'm all for it. So
it would also lead to greater differences between the Pokemon. Like, if you picked a big, slow Pokemon, you would feel some of the repercussions of that versus a small, fast one. You know? So it'd be actually some increased depth there. I'd like to see something like that. And now, obviously, there's a lot of challenge to animating and modeling hundreds and hundreds of characters, but still, I think, and maybe even on a slightly smaller scale or something, I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think the idea, and it would be great if they can execute this idea, and obviously it would just take a lot of time, but I think in the long term it would be better for the future of Pokemon. We all know that there's a certain formula that they love to stick with, but I think a little change, like especially in the battle system, would really make them, like, catapult them into like probably one of the best, if not the best strategy game of all time. It can be. I would believe it. Just, you have a reputable brand in Pokemon, and if you can tweak the battle system in a way where it is like what we propose, who knows? Like, I can see like esports on this, like just like with like $1 million prize money like tournaments. It could be incredible. So, and it's just based on the franchise that we used to love back in the day, and excuse me. Some of us used to love back in the day.
Ooh. I felt that one from here, and I'm not a Pokemon fan, and I felt that one.
It sounded so natural too.
Sorry, yeah. I some of us, actually myself included, I don't love the series as much as I used to. But yeah, I have to correct myself there.
All right. So I'm gonna jump to the next game to avoid the pitchforks on this one. So my quote unquote my first game, I'm actually gonna go back to Shell Shock's actual question. So, how would we evolve? I don't know why I keep doing that. How would we evolve the Mega Man franchise? So, to me, this is a very hard question, because what is the Mega Man franchise at this point? There are so many variations if you include the classic games, the X games, the Zero games,
Battle Network,
RPG spin-offs, Battle Network, Network Transmission, the Star Force, ZX. There's so many. There's so many. But I'm gonna basically take this to mean mostly the Mega Man and Mega Man X series, because I think those are more the more classic, what people actually think when they think of Mega Man game, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'm at a little bit of I'll say a disadvantage because they just kind of quote unquote reinvented it with Mega Man 11. And now that said, that was a very safe reinvention, right? So you still got the 8 Robot Masters. You still have the same power-up system and just a couple extra perks here and there. So my main problem with what they've done ever since Mega Man 6, which was the last NES Mega Man, is they've just kind of gone back to that well a lot. Like, it just, even with the X games, now those are significantly different in terms of gameplay, but the structure is the same. You still have 8 main bosses, and you beat them, and then you go to a couple final levels, and then you beat the final boss, and then, yay,
there we go.
That's the game. Congratulations, you can beat a Mega Man game in a few hours. I mean, they're fairly short games if you don't get killed a lot. But so what I would like to see, if I were reinventing what Mega Man is, versus just putting ports and ports and ports of the old games out like Capcom loves to do, I would probably drastically change up the concept of 8 Robot Masters. I would also probably drastically change up the rock, paper, scissors type gameplay. So, if you have this weapon, you are super effective against this boss, that kind of thing. Like, I'm okay having like slightly more effective weapons, that kind of thing. What I would love to see though is it can still be, let's say we can still do like 2D platforming levels, so it can still be kind of the Mega Man structure. I'm not going full Metroidvania here or anything like that, but what I would like to see is the actual power-ups that you get from the bosses are more overall useful versus and slightly less useful specifically to the bosses.
Right.
So give me a power up that actually makes me cooler, or the equivalent of when you get super missiles with Samus. You suddenly feel amazing, right? Because and that's not because they're really effective against Parasite Queen or whatever. It's because like you're stronger in gameplay. Mega Man 2 is probably the easiest example I can come up of that, where as soon as you got the Metal Blade, the whole game got easier and you felt awesome about it. But what I'd like to see, more levels, just plain more levels, maybe a shake-up of how they're selected. Maybe they're selected in groups or something like that. A little bit less rock, paper, scissors type gameplay, and a little more usefulness in the actual power-ups that you get, versus just like a super weapon against one enemy type. So actually, that's fairly conservative in my opinion. Like, it's not a drastic shakeup.
Yeah, and it sounds like it doesn't need it as much, like you said. Would you change it to fully orchestrated music only?
Ooh.
If orchestrated included like a Splatoon style rock band, yes.
Oh.
I don't want the Mario Galaxy orchestral soundtrack. I really don't.
Right.
For Mega Man, I don't think it fits. He is Rockman for a reason. That this is a known quantity. I would love to have get a really nice rock band that can also play some bluesy stuff, and have them do all of the music. I think that'd be really cool, actually.
What about the story? Have you thought maybe you want to tweak the story the way it's written? I mean, because like you said, essentially you go through the 8 bosses, then by Dr. Wily and you win. That's it. I mean, do you feel like maybe it could have more of an engaging, darker story? Not so much like permadeath in Pokemon, or just where you lose a loved one or something, but maybe more like you're trying to find, I don't know, trying to find this gem that your relative entrusted for you or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. What would you change with the story?
Honestly, I don't think Mega Man's not where I go for a story, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, Dr. Wily, I love him as a character, but also he's just not that interesting of a character in terms of motivation. He just wants to take over everything. And you could make him multidimensional, but again, just kind of why? You know, like it's not. It's kind of the same story that like Mario has, right? You are going through these levels for a very very one note reason, and that's it. You know, I'm all right with that.
That's cool. Yeah.
This might seem a little counterintuitive, but I would not be against, if we're gonna add more robot masters, more powers, things like that. I would not be against recycling some old ones, like bring back Metal Man and bring back Snake Man and things like that, and actually, have kind of a Mega Man Ultimate type game with a bunch of stages and robot masters and things like that, and you just get a ton of weapons at the end. It would be kind of neat. You'd probably have to rework how the weapon energy system works, but honestly, that's a little archaic too, so I'd be okay with that.
Nice.
And you said you're not thinking of a fully open world, that it's basically set and you can explore it where you want. No, you're thinking you're still select some specific levels before you go.
Yeah, the only open world I would go is kind of how the Mega Man Zero world is structured, but honestly, I didn't like that much. Whether it's select levels or pre-scripted levels or whatever, I just don't want to see a screen with a bunch of faces on it that I'm like, well, this guy looks stupid, let me pick him. You know, I don't think I think we're past that point, and there is a sense of nostalgia there, which I do not want to dismiss, because it's there and I feel it personally, but it's just an old style. Like these games are definitely retro throwbacks right now. So if you're gonna try to evolve something or reinvent something, you want it to appeal to the newer audience. So you got to make some changes.
Cool. That makes sense.
So that's Mega Man, Shell. Sergio, what's your next game?
From one Capcom series to another, now let's talk about evolving Phoenix Wright.
Objection. It's perfect as is. Do not evolve it. Go ahead.
So I just feel like it's always been my issue with the series, especially the more it keeps going, the more of an issue I think it is. There's just so much that you can do with otherworldly things like spirit mediums, channeling, seances, and things like that. I think, and I hope that the developers are kind of realizing that they pretty much done everything they can, and the scenarios are starting to overlap or to feel similar. So I kind of want them to go back to more traditional scenarios, more crimes and criminals that could actually happen a lot easier in the real world. But of course, it wouldn't be Phoenix Wright if it doesn't have a certain kick to it, right? So I'm proposing one of two things. One could be that the main character has sort of like visions or intuition as to where to look for clues or what to ask from witnesses. And throughout the game, you find out that this is because either from a previous life that your main character had, or from a long lost relative that is pretty much going through the same or very similar cases or scenarios, but in a different part of the world. It's like a long distance intuition type of thing. Basically, it would be like combining the Zero Escape series with Phoenix Wright a little bit.
Ooh.
So either that, or the main character has a condition where basically they do something one day and they don't remember the next day. So they would actually be sort of involved in the crimes or the scenarios, and they just wouldn't remember anything at all. And all of these crazy things happen, and you have no idea because the main character doesn't know, and you as a player also don't know about this condition until later on in the game. So
that'd be cool.
Either of these, I think, yeah, it would allow the series to step back a little bit with the crazy stuff that there's like the killer whale is the killer. That's actually a scenario that they use.
Hey, no spoilers.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
So
spoiler alert.
No. Well, no spoilers, but it wasn't the whale.
Yeah.
Hey, no spoilers.
Oh man, yo, Sergio with a double take.
But yeah, I mean, it would be a nice change of pace to go back to more traditional things, and they could still have the humor, and I think some of the characters from the series could make cameos, but it would probably be best also to get at least a new main character, maybe a new side character also, and just start from scratch a little bit, but add something different to the series. Maybe make it a little more mature, maybe a little bit, not too much. And now that the Zero Escape series is kind of done, they're trying something else with another game. But I feel like it would be a nice opportunity for Phoenix Wright to explore something else.
So if you want a new character, like do you propose like is there going to be some sort of relation or like some sort of connection between that character and Phoenix Wright, like spiritually, or maybe just like a memento that that person has of like Phoenix Wright as his mentor, his or her mentor? Like what like, would there be any sort of like like oh hey I remember this from that game or this or the other like or with Miles Edgeworth or like how would you incorporate the old characters like in just bits and pieces or just none at all like
Maybe a little bit. I'm thinking it could be said in the same country or region, but you would only maybe hear about those characters. Maybe, towards the end of the game, you actually meet
right
Phoenix Wright and he might help you or something, or you just
okay
hear about a previous case. But I feel like if they get too involved, then they're the things that I associate with them, like like the spirit channeling in those type of scenarios, they could kind of come with them as well. So I would dial it back as much as I could.
okay yeah I mean it seems to me like you just want to the focal point should be the new main characters and like because I feel like if you do put too much of the cameo role into Phoenix Wright and Miles Edgeworth and maybe the focus will shift to them and you don't want that so no that's great I mean I would like a new main character too for a Ace Attorney game I mean the way it was like just with Phoenix Wright coming back and the characters like Miles Edgeworth and Apollo Justice. I mean, they've had their time. It's time for a new lawyer, whatever his or her name is. So
Right. And one of the new recent ones, it's Athena Sykes, and I do really
yes,
like the fact that her quote unquote power has more to do with technology instead of like spiritual things. That's cool, and that could be that approach would work for me, but I kind of want to see what else they can do as well.
mm,
No, that's
yes.
cool. I actually really liked your ideas there. So I don't have too much to add, unfortunately. But I liked what I was hearing. I would love to see maybe a game that follows a case instead of multiples. Like
Oh,
maybe
okay,
make
gotcha.
Yeah, that would be
maybe make the case engrossing and deep enough that is the story for the game. Then that kind of drives the emotional involvement of the character a little bit
Right,
better.
right.
I like that.
So yeah, I could definitely see something like that creating a really cool game.
Yeah, and it's just, especially with that sort of formula, you can get emotionally invested into it, and then like say if that were to happen, and we all get the game, and then we can like talk to each other about like like with the clues that we have, and figure out like oh what do you think of this and that, and I mean I think it'd be a lot more engrossing, just having that one big case and just following through that journey. So yeah, I mean Capcom, heed our call.
All right, Kevin, I think it's your turn, right?
Yeah. I got to pay homage to one of my favorite video game series of all time. I'm talking about Mario Kart. I mean, it,
Okay, all right.
it's time and time again, and I don't know if I've talked about it with you two or with other people in the community, but one of my biggest gripes about Mario Kart is that the potential for it to become a tournament type of like a serious competitive tournament type of game is just not relevant. It's not there because of the same reasons that we're given all the time. Too much luck is involved. The items, the items, the items, the items. I mean, you have the lightning bolts, you have the blue shells. That just plays way too much of a factor. And I would love to have the next Mario Kart evolve into a more well, still have the casual type of game where you're going to the Grand Prix and you're trying to collect the trophies and stuff and unlock some characters and all that and different wheels and carts and I do want to bring back the double dash type of spiel. I really like having two characters in one cart. I think that's very unique. Shout out to Double Dash. Love that game. And but I think if it housed this sort of like this tournament formula where you have a certain set of items that you can use that will make it very tournament friendly, and then people can actually legitimately compete against each other. It's not just going to be a casual race. I mean, although we've had tournaments before. We've all participated in Mario Kart tournaments where it's all good fun, obviously, and there is some skill to it. But I want to take it to the next level, man. Like I feel like the potential for this game, this series can be even greater. Like I want to elevate it to like League of Legends or like StarCraft. Like I'm talking like that high, and like it's just a step away. Just
I think it's a few steps away from that, to be fair.
okay, yeah, maybe a few steps, but then I mean, but I'm talking about item regulation. I'm talking about just the way, and you know what? I'm gonna add another thing too. Okay, this is one of the things that I want to talk about with Mario Kart. I really like how like in Formula One, where each you have each team have like two drivers, and they race with the same car, and like each car has its own specifications, like different specifications and all that. What I mean is to say is that maybe in the tournament scene in Mario Kart, maybe we can have those sort of like clubs, those teams that you can form, and then you can have this crazy Grand Prix tour of all the teams around the world and trying to compete for the grand prize, and there'll be leagues, and each continent would have its own league, and then like the top 8 will go into like this Ultimate Champions League. Shout out to soccer or football. And it would just be this conglomerate sort of this tournament where the best are competing for the ultimate title. And then I don't know, I that's what I want Mario Kart to be. I'm so goodness, like I have the most hours out of all my games on Mario Kart, and whenever I play I just think about these sort of things, like we need better item regulation. We need to have like a greater platform for people to say, hey, like this is a legitimate esport. That's what I want Mario Kart to evolve in. I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, I think they already solved it with Smash, kind of, right? Like you already got like a lot of item controls and rules and such that are there.
Yeah,
I would love all of that to come to Mario Kart. Just give me some. Give me sliders. Give me the choice of what appears, Let me turn off the freaking piranha plant. I don't know. I think that's not that far away, and it's not that hard to do. I'm not really sure why it hasn't been done to some extent, at least yet. Like what they've done instead is they've given you like subsets of items, so you can play with like shells only and or frantic items, which are insane. That kind of thing, but I don't think that's enough.
No, it's not, and it's just very frustrating as a Mario Kart fan, like who's played the series for so many years. You guys have as well. I mean, y'all know, like this is goodness. It really, it's frustrating. It really is. I don't understand Nintendo. I don't understand why we don't understand why they're not able to make that jump. I mean, I don't know.
So I'm gonna take this another way. So I'm gonna ask you to envision a completely different gameplay style for Mario Kart, and it's gonna be kind of a spin-off series.
Okay.
It's gonna be a spin-off series of 2 different games involving Mario. So bear with me for a minute. Sure. Mario Kart Strikers. So a game in which you put the Mario Kart in an arena and you have a gigantic soccer ball. I think this is going to work. I know it's kind of a crazy idea.
Wait.
But you put a gigantic soccer ball and then you play soccer with cars. I don't know. It's a crazy idea, but I think it might work.
That sounds like a rocket kind of an idea. I mean, it feels very I mean, it just feels like it feels really, really powerful. Like having a soccer game. I mean,
you know what they need is like boost engines so they can jump and fly around and stuff. That'd be pretty neat.
And like do flips and stuff. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Oh, and man, and just be able to customize your car too with like different skins.
I'm not gonna lie, I would totally play that. I really would. Yeah. Like
I would too.
Mario Kart Rocket League, I would totally play. In all seriousness, what I'd love to see from Mario Kart. So there's a bunch of kart series, right? And most of them you can clearly say are worse than Mario Kart. There's really one series or one game in the kart style that I think you can really argue is a rival to Mario Kart.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's Diddy Kong Racing.
Yes.
So what Diddy Kong Racing did really well was actually, this is odd, but a lot of world building stuff. So a lot of the single player campaign, as it were, was actually big, with a lot of challenges, a lot of different things you could do. Some little grindy repeating things, but whatever. It was fun. But also it introduced the styles, the different styles, so you could you could play on a hovercraft. So you could have hovercraft races. You could also be in a plane. You have plane races. I would love to see Mario Kart kind of adapt that. So give me more vehicle choices, maybe in the Sonic Racing Transformed kind of way. So you go off a jump and all of a sudden you're a plane. They've kind of done that a little bit with the glider, but I would love to see that fleshed out a little bit more, kind of in that direction. I think that's a really fun gameplay style, and I think it works really well.
I agree. That would be great, and especially the world building. I remember love playing single player. I would play more single player than multiplayer for that game, and like,
yeah,
it was just, yeah. I just don't understand though. Why didn't they ever expand on that? Like, there was no Diddy Kong Racing 2 or 3. I mean, it's just...
Well, there was a planned Donkey Kong Racing for a GameCube. It was supposed to be near launch or something, and got canceled. It's actually on the box of the initial run GameCubes. Like, there's Donkey Kong Racing on the box, but
Wow.
it never actually came to be. So I think they always kind of played with it and never actually did it. So...
Oh, man.
And I guess that's because, they always see Mario Kart. Oh, Mario Kart is a racing game. And, I mean,
yeah.
Sorry to say, Kevin, but that's probably a big reason why F-Zero hasn't come back either. They
goodness,
feel like
yeah.
they satisfy
they Paper
the racing
Mario'd
genre with just Mario Kart. And I think that's a mistake. I think either if you're going to do that, you can definitely have more modes or different expansions to Mario Kart. The fast one like F-Zero, the quirky different vehicles ones like Diddy Kong Racing, or allow them to coexist because they definitely can.
Yeah, and I just don't know why there's such a barrier for this potential to evolve into a better series. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know exactly that that's fair, because in Mario Kart, I would argue that 8 is the best one they've ever made.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
the most expansive in terms of courses and characters, and you've lost a little bit of like the super moves that Double Dash had, so it's evolved in a different way. But I think they're going in the right direction, at least with it, especially with the additions of like the DLC tracks. I love playing on like Mute City. It's a lot of fun. So I think they're traveling in the right direction. I don't know. I'm curious to see what Mario Kart 9 looks like whenever it actually comes out.
Right.
Yeah, I guess you have a good point there. I mean, I guess for me, when I say better series, like, I think that also, incorporates just the potential for it to be a tournament level type of game. I mean, Mario Kart 8 is very well polished. Even Deluxe, like, I love playing it. And I mean, we've had tournaments together. We've battled on the court. The course.
Speaking of, stay tuned to our Twitter and Discord. There will be a Mario Kart tournament coming up, so stay tuned.
There we go. And but ultimately, I am curious about. Well, I am very curious about this. The Mario Kart World Tour. I don't know much about it in terms of what they've already been given. Just
Mario Kart World Tournament. Hey, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
I mean,
yeah, I'm curious too.
Yeah, and on the phone too, or excuse me, the mobile platforms.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna jump into my second game here. Actually, my first game, I think. And I want to talk, and I'm gonna go quick on this because I'd like to get through another like lightning round on this. I want to talk about Star Fox, and I want to say that I think they have made decent Star Fox games, but I don't think that they have made a great Star Fox game since the Nintendo 64. So, and they've been trying different things with it. I think they've tried to reinvent it a few times with, for sure, adventures, the Zelda-like. Assault had a lot of different things in terms of, it had a lot of on-foot sections and different type map structures. I actually really liked Assault. I don't think it was Star Fox 64, but I liked it as a game. And then most recently they had Star Fox Zero on Wii U, which basically rebooted Star Fox 64 with weird controls. So yeah, I think I think Star Fox is probably, of the still alive series, is probably maybe most needing the update of some sort.
Definitely.
And oddly enough, where I'm kind of drawing some inspiration here is from Starlink, Battle for Atlas, which developed by Ubisoft and put Star Fox in it. I don't want Star Fox being Starlink. I don't want that. But what I did realize from that game is that the ability to just kind of fly around space as Star Fox is inherently fun. So what I'm gonna kind of argue for in terms of Star Fox is, yes, let's make that more open universe. Like, let's actually be able to fly around. Let's add some planets that you can go to and explore on your own and see what's there and have some fun there. In more classic Star Fox gameplay. So have events where you go into this on rails section. It feels very much like Star Fox 64. Or have other events where you fly down to this planet and a little cutscene plays, and all of a sudden you're in like a battle of Fortuna. Where you're in all range mode and there's a ton of enemies around, and you're suddenly in a dogfight. Have outer space missions as you're flying between planets. You can make it fairly linear. I just want it big, and I want it open, and I want you able to kind of grasp that you are in this amazing star system and you can fly around and take your team with you and give them little commands. Hey, go here, do this, that kind of thing. Ooh. To kind of incorporate like the Star Fox command, Star Fox 2 type. That would be one of my favorite games ever if they pulled it off correctly. I mean that because I love the worlds. I love the characters. I think that they could do a lot with it if they just opened it up and made kind of do the anti-Mega Man again. Don't just do specific levels. Give me the stuff in between as well.
So I imagine I thought of Pikmin for some reason. So let's say you're Fox and Falco and you engage in a mission against Starwolf. And you realize that you kind of need help, so maybe you say, okay, Falco, just stay here, try to hold them back. Let me go away for a little bit and get more reinforcements, like directly. So you go away, and then you bring back Peppy and Sleepy, and then you can go at it, But basically, it's real time, and you can go wherever. If a mission is too hard, you can sort of go away, or if you decide to stay. Sort of like when you leave Pikmin to do a task for you. Would that be possible?
I mean, tell me that wouldn't be amazing.
Yeah.
If you could actually, maybe if you could warp into the different Star Fox characters, so all of a sudden you'd be playing as Falco doing this other thing.
Whoa.
Tell me that wouldn't be like an amazing game, right?
Oh, man.
I want that game now. I really do. Call it Star Fox Universe. You're welcome. There you go.
Boom. Yeah, no, that'd be great. And I think it's just, it seems like that would be the ideal Star Fox game, being able to, travel to these really expansive worlds and and then be able to find little gems that maybe can unlock more about the story and maybe just things that we've never known about as fans. I think but yeah, definitely, like, I think it can borrow a lot from Starlink. I mean, like, for the few hours I played with it, like, it feels really nice being able to fly in that ship and just traversing around the region and being able to shoot enemies, but also just taking the immersive environment and taking how beautiful it is, the different landscapes of trees. And I mean, I would love to be in the Landmaster, just going through and yeah, that would be a must play for sure.
And it would allow for a lot of side characters to either come back a little bit or to get their stories explored. The Star Fox games always have a lot of really cool, interesting characters that they just really don't come back, or they don't shine enough. So this would be
they pop in, and these characters obviously have history with the Star Fox team, and you have no idea what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know more about
Hey,
Cat.
Cat, how you doing? Yeah.
There we go. I mean, the timing could
Bill, how you been, man? And you're like, who the crap is Bill? Anyways. Yeah. And where there are more interesting characters, there are more options for multiplayer. Hey.
So there we go.
Yeah, give me all of that game. Give it to somebody like an adequate developer and just give me all of that game. I would love it.
Oh man, that would be pretty cool.
All right. So that's Star Fox. Sergio.
That's awesome.
Sergio, lightning round third game. What you got?
I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Because
Oh no.
I'm gonna combine two series, but they make sense. You're gonna realize that,
Okay.
and it just so happens that Nintendo is not really making games for either of them anymore. So, yeah, let's just mash them together and get the best parts.
Mario Kart Strikers.
No, I'm proposing that we combine the Paper Mario in the Mario and Luigi series.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So for sure we're gonna get back the partners and gaining experience from Paper Mario. We're gonna keep the 2D levels and exploration from Mario Luigi. I'm thinking even the battle system where you either control two or maybe four characters and you kind of have to press a button before you attack or before you get hit, sort of to help you to attack or defend better. But I also want to keep something from the quote unquote shunned Paper Mario games like Sticker Star. But instead of collecting stickers, I'm thinking you might collect pins from characters, and depending on of how
Ooh.
rare an enemy is or how difficult it is to defeat it, there's less and less chance that you get the pin. But if you do, you get their ability. For example, if you defeat a Lakitu and you manage to get the pin, you're able to use the cloud for a little bit, and you can float around for a few seconds.
Hey, we already talked about Mega Man. I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, but this would be basically there would be the 2D parts would be for exploring. Maybe there could be a little bit of platforming, but what I also want to add, which is the biggest addition to either series really, is 2D boss battles. I was actually thinking like the Castlevania series, even for the pins element. I don't know if you played Aria of Sorrow or Dawn of Sorrow.
Yeah.
So they have the soul
Mm.
system. When you beat an enemy, there's a chance that you can get their soul or their skill, basically. And I want to do that with Paper Mario in Mario and Luigi, but also for 2D boss battles. I think that could happen with the Mario universe. There's a lot of potential they could do with the characters you can use and with the enemies that you can fight.
Okay, so you're again describing a game I would absolutely play. But then again, I'm weak. I would play literally if they put out a Paper Mario game and said, "Hey, we got partners again." Oh man, pre-ordered,
That's it.
done, sold, good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that I think of that as the biggest thing, but I'm also thinking like in Color Splash and also Sticker Stars, there are things that you can get, like
Yeah.
actual real world things. They could still have that in that could be used to solve environmental puzzles. So I think like the 2D parts of this game would be a lot more expanded upon, but the traditional battles, like the regular, not the boss battles, those would still be classic turn-based.
Okay, that's awesome.
Sweet. I mean, and really sorry to say I've never played a Paper Mario game, but this would be one that I would love to start as my first. I know. Oh man.
This man says he loves RPGs. I just want to point that out. He says he likes RPGs as a series.
Hold on. I don't know why, but I've just never played a Paper Mario game. I wish I can explain it in a legitimate fashion, but I have no answer. I really
All right, so
don't
here's
know.
what you do. You get that GameCube that you bought to play F-Zero GX. I know you already got it. So you get that
Right.
GameCube. Now this one's a little bit more expensive, so I apologize. Get your wallet out. But Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. You buy that off eBay. So you get it used off eBay. They ship it to you. You push it in. You put it in the GameCube. You got to take F-Zero out, obviously. You put the Thousand Year Door in the GameCube, and you press go, and you have the time of your life. That's what you do.
Yes.
So there's some homework.
Done. I mean,
Okay. All right. Good.
All right.
Good.
That's what's gonna happen. Oh.
Oh man, somebody get this guy a GameCube. All right.
I still have one. It's just, but it's not with me right now.
Somebody
yeah.
get this guy a GameCube. Kevin, what's your next game, man? Last game, third.
My third, man, 3 times the charm, going with Final Fantasy. Yeah, I have a lot of history with this series. I mean, I'm actually including playing Final Fantasy X for the first time, which has been really good so far. But I I know that in Final Fantasy 15 they introduced the real time battle system where you're able to control the main character and just be able to dodge attacks and with precision timing, you're able to execute like really special, like just these special attacks that just come out of nowhere. But I want to bring back for the next Final Fantasy. I want to have the I'm gonna go with the same active time battle system, but now this is not gonna be like an MMO. It's not, but I want to have this system where either it's in the middle of the game or maybe in post game fashion. You can choose 3 characters out of the, let's just say 10 that you've traveled with and are part of the game, and you can go online and play against other people with be on a 3-on-3, and it'll be like a real time battle, active time battle system, and just battle each other 3-on-3, and I think that would be great. Like that was something that I've always wanted to have as a kid. Like because Final Fantasy, well, besides the MMOs, it's always been a single player game, but I've always wanted to have this 3-on-3 or even 4-on-4. Just have this sort of like play against another person from like a different side of the world and be able to showcase my skills, be able to use the strategies that I've used when I fight certain bosses in the game, things like that. And it could even be like mirror matches too. Like maybe the 3 characters that I use are the same characters that the other person's using, but we could have totally different strategies, And so now with that comes with different abilities from different characters. I want to have it so that you can mold your characters into different play styles, like whether he or she is like a tank or maybe someone who is a debuff person and a buff person. Just things like that. So I would want to. So that's how I want to evolve the series. Have a well executed story, but as a multiplayer part, be able to go do 3-on-3s with other people all around the world, and I think that would add another dimension to the Final Fantasy formula. Strictly in the battle part. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, for sure. It would be very nice to basically you're combining the single player aspect of Final Fantasy, and then when you feel like it, you kind of just turn on the multiplayer online. Very different approach to what you've been doing basically. But are you proposing sort of like whatever you progress in multiplayer, you carry it over to your single player quests, or are they completely separate?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would propose like maybe have like some sort of like a level cap. Like say if your characters are like 67, 55, and maybe another like 59. In the multiplayer it'll be optimized so that all your characters will be at the same level and just be at the same level and just have everything all optimized so that it starts at an even level playing field. But then your progress won't carry over to your single player. It's just strictly multiplayer, and you cannot use items. No items. You gotta rely on your magic points, your MP.
Oh,
And yeah, it's just gonna be, and eventually your magic points are gonna run out. So then you have to rely on different attacks and stuff like that. So there will be a clear cut winner. For sure.
So I think I'm going to try to summarize everything you said by just saying Final Fantasy Battle Royale. I think that is what we want to happen.
Yeah,
Square Enix, Final Fantasy Battle Royale is the future, and we need this.
We do.
Right now.
Perfect name. Oh, man. We're just going off the theme of Battle Royale games. I mean, yeah, I think
it would
this
actually be kind of awesome.
I would love it. I mean, this would be a Final Fantasy that I would play for years and years. Like, just, and I could see it as a tournament level esports type of thing, like in the upper echelons of like League of Legends and
Man, you are all about the esports today.
Call of Duty. Yeah, I am. I feel so strongly about this, man. I really
wait. I may have misparaphrased this. So you wanted a Final Fantasy 3-on-3. So what I think you want, let me paraphrase. I'm sorry again. I think you want Final Fantasy versus Capcom, the 3-on-3 fighting game. I think that's what you're asking for, which also Square Enix Capcom, make that happen. I need that.
I need that right now, my man.
Oh man.
Oh man. FF versus Capcom. I mean,
That would be hype. That would be very, very hype.
yeah.
You know what I was thinking, and it doesn't actually go in line with anything that I've seen thus far, and I don't know why it's kind of in my mind, but I want to kind of think about the games like Final Fantasy 4 through 6. So you kind of think about that art style, think about how the world is, everything in those games, right? Now there's a bunch of playable characters in those games. They kind of rotate in and out of your party here and there, with the exception of 5, which I think is mainly just the set characters. But so specifically 4 and 6 have like this rotating cast. You get new characters, then they leave, and so on. Imagine if each of those characters was controlled by a different player as you're moving through the story, and you all had different tasks that you could do in that world. It was an online focused game, and it was kind of meant to be a co-op style Final Fantasy game. I don't know what that would look like, but that would be really cool.
Yeah, gosh, I need to put that. I'm gonna put that down right now. Like, if there could be a game like that, I mean, like
if you could play as Edward the Bard and go try to save Anna on your own, and kind of leave the party for a little bit, go try to save her, and then like run away and go back to the party. I mean, that'd be pretty slick.
Yeah, I mean, talk about dynamic story narratives. I mean, that would be, oh goodness, like. But I'm just thinking how. Man, there's just so many scenarios like in the way they would program that. Like,
I think it would have to be a quest type system, so it would have to be kind of like a Diablo, Final Fantasy, Crystal Chronicles, that kind of thing. So you have like an overall mission, and just how you accomplish it is a little bit different every time. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I'm gonna end this with the best game series I could possibly end this with, I think. So I'm going to open up the floor. How would we reinvent / evolve the 2D Super Mario Brothers series?
Ooh.
Oh, God.
You add new to the title.
You had new. Well, we've already done new, so what we're going to do is new Super Mario Brothers. I think that's, yeah, booked, done, pre-ordered, all in. So I kind of wondered with the Wii U, so they released Super Mario Maker, and Super Mario Maker is a method or a platform by which people can create Mario levels to infinity. I mean, like, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of variable quality Mario levels out there now. So how does Nintendo actually follow that up? What I didn't realize is they follow it up by porting an old Mario game. Hey, there you go. And then doing Mario Maker 2. But honestly, what does the next 2D Mario game look like, if that's even in the pipeline? Now, to be fair, I think Nintendo is better at making Mario games than Nintendo fans are. Significantly better. So I think a 2D Mario game released by Nintendo would be worthwhile as is, whatever it actually is. But the new style has kind of run its course. I don't know, that I think they've already kind of leaned into nostalgia. Where do you go from here? You guys have any ideas?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, essentially, it's all about saving the princess, but then she's in another castle, and then like you just have to keep going until you find her. But you know what? I mean, well, I kind of talked about this in the Discord, not so much with Mario per se, but with Dr. Mario, in terms of like, instead of having it as a puzzle game, but maybe having it maybe have Dr. Mario be, just be the doctor trying to solve this mysterious disease that is plaguing the whole world, and going to each region and trying to figure out what's the cause of the disease. And it turns out it's this big enemy that he has to fight and destroy. And then once that enemy succumbs to his or her fate, the disease within that region starts to dissipate and just is gone, and people are healed again. And he has to do that like 7-8 times, and something magical happens at the very end. I don't know what. Maybe he gets a Nobel Peace Prize for world world peace and curing the disease. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, how about I'm gonna throw out a word. I think it might fix it. How about permadeath? No, I don't know.
Oh no, I can't even.
The only thing that comes to mind, and this is actually legitimate. The only thing that comes to mind is I would be extremely excited for a Mario game that looks like Yoshi's Island did. So a hand-drawn kind of cartoon, interesting art style Mario game would be amazing at this point. And that might actually be what I might think is the most likely, like a fairly drastic art style change. With fairly straightforward Mario type gameplay, but just a slightly new engine, so it's not the new Super Mario Brothers engine anymore. New power ups and just a really I'll say like delightful looking art style. I think that would be enough for me, although that's a little bit conservative, I think.
So other than the art style, you wouldn't borrow like the vehicle transformations from Yoshi's Island?
Yeah.
I think you could do a lot of that with like Mario hopping in a helicopter and things like that pretty easily. Yeah. And change it up. And that actually, they did that in Super Mario Land. So you got in a plane and it became a shmup for a little bit.
Right.
There were a few sections like that on a Game Boy game, the launch Game Boy game. So I mean, this is not a new concept per se. So yeah, that's a good point. You could actually change up the gameplay in certain sections pretty easily.
Right. And would you add any amount of Metroidvania type to the play?
Ooh.
I don't know.
Because I feel like Nintendo would be concerned about not wanting to overlap with the Yoshi games, the 2D Yoshi games, and also the Kirby games. But I think the Metroid series it's like a little more fair game, because it's so dead.
Well, I mean, it used to be. Now that I don't know. We got a new 2D one and a new 3D one coming eventually. I don't know. I think that the hand-drawn art style is actually underused at this point. I don't think they have had one in any of their modern platformers.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
So Yoshi's kind of doing his new art styles lately, which are awesome, by the way. I'm not complaining at all, but he's veering very far into arts and crafts. Kirby is doing whatever Kirby wants to do, pretty much. He's doing claymation or yarn or really, really like shiny 3D models and things like that. So Kirby's kind of doing his thing. But I think what they've kind of lost is that almost marker art style that Yoshi's Island had, and they've had a few other games kind of in that realm. I think they could go back to it. I really do. Mm-hmm. They could actually animate it very much like a hand-drawn Mario moving around, which would look incredible if that actually was something.
Sign me up. I would love that. I mean, I love Yoshi's Island. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, just the art style and even just the music was so fitting too. Like bring back some of that jazz influence style of music, man. Like, I mean, although I think Nintendo has been doing a great job. I mean, they've been doing a great job with it, especially with Super Mario Odyssey. I really appreciate it, especially the jump ups. Is it Jump Up Superstar?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that was a really nice track. I really like that one with the jazz influence and very jazzy. And yeah, it's count me in. Hand drawn Mario game. Hell yeah.
I'd play that. Or just a Mario. So everybody talks about New Super Mario Brothers. Everybody talks about one level in it, which kind of looked like a Van Gogh painting. Looked incredible, right? But it was this one level, and everyone talks about that one level because it looks interesting. So you could actually do like every world has a different art style. That might be kind of neat. There's a bunch of stuff you could do, but I think in terms of how you reinvent 2D Mario, I kind of just think you don't. I just think you kind of stick to the gameplay formula because the gameplay formula is very tight, very well done, and I don't have too many complaints about it. But do give it a nice coat of paint, as it were, and some new power-ups, new gameplay would be really nice to see. And I think that's enough, personally. For me, that'd be enough.
Yeah,
so,
same here. I mean,
that's all I got on that.
Wow, yeah, we went through 9 game series. That's pretty dope. I mean,
and we described some games I would totally buy.
Yes.
If they were coming out, I would totally buy
Oh,
at least
man.
like 4 of the games we discussed. Like tomorrow, I really would.
Tomorrow.
But one that is coming out and that I'm more excited for now that we kind of sort of hinted towards it sometimes without even knowing. Crystal Chronicles. Sounds like I'm really
There
gonna
Yeah.
enjoy it.
you go. There you go.
I mean, I'm gonna play that game, man. You hyped it up quite a bit, Daryl, and I just gotta play it.
Now we just hope it's good.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, there's no way it's not going to be good. There's no way. So
Yeah. Square Enix porting stuff. What could possibly go wrong? Anyways, with that dark note, I'm very hyped for that game. So no worries.
Yeah.
I think that is it. Sergio, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, you're right. It is time to jump out of here. So thank you so much for listening. If you would like to chat with us and with an awesome Nintendo gaming community, you can join our Discord group. The description for this episode has a link to it if you would like to join. We are also on social media, like on Twitter, on Instagram, and we also have a Facebook group. And our episodes are on YouTube. Feel free to leave us a comment about anything we discussed today or anything that you would like for us to discuss in an upcoming episode. You can send us your feedback via social media or via email at NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com. If you want to support this show, the best way to do so is through our Patreon. That's patreon.com/NintendoJump. Another way to support would be by leaving us a review in your podcast application of choice. We would really appreciate it. This is Sergio, and on behalf of Daryl and Kevin, thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Guys.
It's familiar. What is it?
Rainbow Road.
Ah,
Super
nice.
Yes, on the Super Nintendo.
Yep.
Super Mario Kart. Yep.
Nice.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.